The movie begins in a distant future where humans coexist with advanced technology and alien life forms. Scientists and soldiers monitor interdimensional portals in a high-tech facility which are key to traveling through space and time. Lee Han narrates her story, recalling how she traveled from the future to the past as a child. Long ago, aliens imprisoned their prisoners inside humans, and Lee Han's father and Thunder were tasked with managing these prisoners. One day, the leader, known as Designer, killing people and awakening the alien prisoners within them. Designer planned to release more Haba to alter Earth's atmosphere, aiming to eradicate humanity and take over the planet. With only 48 minutes left before the outbreak, Lee Han and her father had to lock the prisoners in the past to prevent the disaster. Her father instructed her to find him and stop the outbreak, and during this time, Guard was damaged and Thunder stopped functioning. To return to the future, Min Gai-in needed the Divine Sword, which reappeared 10 years later. Lee Han visits a village market and orders food from a seller who shares rumors about her being the Thunder Shooting Girl heading to Bongyang Garden House with a bounty on her head and the Divine Sword. The seller mentions it takes 4 days to reach the garden house with no places to rest. Despite being sleepless for 2 days, she prioritizes finding the Divine Sword, and the seller adds that 2 woodcutters near Huanggong Mountain saw the sword. Their conversation is cut short when 2 men arrive looking for Lee Han, and she quickly overpowers them and leaves peacefully. Meanwhile, Madam Black and Mr. Blue discuss the condition of a man lying down. Lee Han mentions something is inside him, and Mr. Blue suggests it would have been better to kill him if she hadn't stopped him. As she tries to touch him to cure him, the man wakes up and starts asking for Jia. Acting strangely, he begins wandering around the room, and the scene then takes us to another man waking up gasping. Monks serve him food and water, but he attacks and kills them. Standing amidst the chaos, he decides to take control of the place, and back with Miriek and the others, they discover that Jia seeks the Divine Sword because he's trapped in time. In a village, Nyungpa showcases his swordsmanship, and 2 men approach him, requesting to buy his sword, explaining they needed to obtain the Divine Sword. Nyungpa, recalling how he lost his eyes, turns to see them. A group of men arrive in the village and push Lee Han onto a roof. Miriek, sitting with Madam Black and Mr. Blue, witness this and attempt to intervene. Madam Black tries to stop him, controlling his movements and eventually pushing him into the water. Meanwhile, Lee Han was trying to know who the men are, and she asked who they were, but they were not willing to talk and she left, telling them not to follow her. Madam Black and Mr. Blue were discussing what to do with Miriek, and he was lying unconscious, but as they were meditating with their eyes closed, he gained consciousness and he escaped. Lee Han went home, and however, a lot of men were approaching the village, and Lee Han crawled onto the roof with a gun. Suddenly, a man came and grabbed her hands. She quickly retaliated and shot him, and she then started attacking the rest of the men. Meanwhile, Nyungpa came to the village and started fighting with the men. He then went to Min Gai-in and grabbed her by the neck, and he then started asking about the Divine Sword. He told her he saw it before, and as he was telling her the story, Miriek appeared and told Nyungpa that he is her husband and attempted to attack him. However, Nyungpa overpowers him and the 2 men came and ordered Lee Han to come out, but Miriek and her disappeared using a sheet that can make them invisible. In the year 2022 Seoul, Min Gai-in was doing yoga when she notices 2 guys fighting from below. She then encountered a man and he asked who she was. Then he came and knocked her out, and they started fighting, which ended up with her knocking him out. Seo Yoon was in the hospital with a nurse treating him, and he woke up and demanded to know his current state. He asked if he would be crippled, but the nurse left without providing much. Meanwhile, downstairs, an alien was attacking people in the hospital, and Min Gai-in, along with another man, go to the hospital to take the prisoner, but they saw him escaping. Min Gai-in chased him to the garbage, and inside, she saw Guard and another guy talking about Lee Han. She then went to her home and saw the security footage of what happened in the hospital. On the day of the outbreak, Min Gai-in and her assistant were still looking for their prisoner. A red balloon started approaching, and then a man blew it, prompting a red smoke to fill the city. Min Gai-in saw what was happening and stared in awe, and people started falling from the effect of the gas. At home, Min-gaeun saw a report about the red gas and how it was contaminating people. She then went to the investigation area and started showing them the footage of the hospital. She then got a call from guard and he asked her if Leanne can stay with her for a while, and Min-gaeun arrived in a place where a big alien ship was standing. A lot of men came to the scene and they started fighting. After a while, a lot of aliens started coming out of the ship, and then Min-gaeun saw them getting into a portal-like thing. In the past, Miriek questions Leanne about being from the future, revealing that this isn't the first time he saved her. This prompts Leanne to remember Miriek rescuing her as a child, leading to an emotional hug. Miriek asks about Designer, and Leanne, surprised, asks how he knows about it. Miriek explains that when he saved her from the water and climbed the hill, he encountered a strange figure who claimed to have found a human, and this figure, being the monster that entered his body, caused his periodic memory loss. Miriek suggested if Leanne stabs her with the sword, the monster will emerge and she can kill it. However, Leanne advises her to live with the monster inside, and she reflects on her life, acknowledging that many people saved her so she could save others. She then takes the divine sword and leaves, and Miriek sat with the villagers as they talked, but soon decided to follow Leanne, running to catch up with her, and once he reached her, he informed her that all of the Taoist priests in the country were looking for her, and he asked how many days she hadn't slept. Leanne, surprised and slightly annoyed, asked why he was there again, reminding him that they had agreed not to see each other anymore. He hinted at the object of her search, Thunder, asked if she knew where it was. Then they went to a house where she started calling out for Thunder. She picked up a pot and started calling for Thunder, but there was nothing, and Thunder is an energy, and there was none left there, which was why there was no response. Leanne then decided to return to the future. Miriek then went out to distract the men outside as Leanne escapes. In the village, a lot of men came to capture Gyudong, and Gyudong tried to escape, and as he tried to do so, the left king was stabbed by an arrow. Miriek and the right king tried to help, but he quickly started vanishing. Meanwhile, Leanne was walking in the forest when she saw something glowing in her backpack. Madam Black and Master Blue were at Bongyang Garden House. When they got inside, they saw everyone was dead. Master Blue took out his sword and they found Ningupa sitting, and as they were talking to him, Miriek and the Right King came in. They all heard a voice from upstairs and Miriek went there, and he found a man who was wounded badly, and he warned him about what was coming. Suddenly aliens showed up and they started attacking and killed the Right King, and Leanne, who was also there, showed up with the powered thunder. The aliens kept attacking and one of them knocked Leanne out, and the divine sword was taken from her by one of the aliens. As the fight ensues, Miriek gets stabbed by the divine sword, and then he started having flashbacks of when he was a kid, and he was in the woods when a man with alien parasites came to attack. In the present, Leanne pulled the sword out and cut her hand. Then in a flashback, she went to a place where Miriek went, and she saw the man on the ground. The aliens then started coming toward her and got inside her, and Guard, who was also dying, pulled Miriek and gave him his power before disappearing. After seeing this, Leanne tried to kill herself, but the alien inside stopped her, and she then got possessed and even pushed Thunder, who was flowing next to her. A man showed up and told her that Designer has escaped and that Haba will explode. And then they saw a blue light, and Ningupa came and attempted to take the divine sword, but he was stopped by Leanne. Madam Black and Mr. Blue attempted to do the same, but they faced the same fate. In 2022, Min-gaeun rushed to the investigation area, but was stopped by security, and she managed to push in, but they arrested her. Soldiers were navigating through the area that was affected by the gas, but they suddenly faced an attack from the aliens. Mr. Blue and Madam Black, who traveled to the future, found themselves in 2022. Leanne also traveled and was now in the contaminated area, and the confused Mr. Blue and Madam Black got into a gym where they struggled after accidentally getting on a treadmill. Then police officers came and arrested them, and they were put with Min-gaeun in a car. When Min-gaeun saw the two, she asked who they were, and Madam Black told her that they were gods. Suddenly, the car that they were in crashed, and Madam Black got into a sewer. Min-gaeun freed herself and started shooting their attacker, and before the attacker retaliated, Mr. Blue and Min-gaeun went into the underground sewer that Madam Black got into. Their attacker pursued them, but they managed to escape. Lee-han arrived at the scene, and Mr. Blue and Madam Black got on a moving train and started to leave. Guard woke Miriek, but then he started to develop a robotic body. After being hit by a radiation from the robot body, Noongapa gained his sight back. Guard then took Miriek and got him in a car and took him through the portal to the year 2022. They arrive in the future, and Guard tells them that they have 14 minutes till the explosion starts, and they drive. Mr. Blue and Madam Black were fiercely fighting with Lee-han. Miriek and Thunder also arrive at the scene and started fighting the controller on top of the train. Lee-han seized the sacred sword, but Miriek quickly grabbed it from her, and in retaliation, she used her alien appendage to stab him and reclaim the weapon. Thunder had earlier given his armor to Miriek, who then passed it to her, and the armor had the ability to extract the alien entity from a human host. Finally, Lee-han managed to expel the controller from her body, who then invaded Gu-sam-sik, turning him into a new vessel. Following this, Miriek, Thunder, Mr. Blue, Mr. Black, and Lee-han bravely confronted the powerful aliens. In the end, they managed to gain the upper hand, and Lee-han hurled her divine knife at the spaceship, striking its core. This caused the spaceship to lose power, preventing the detonation, and Thunder then trapped the controller inside a red crystal, realizing he would need to leave Earth to keep the powerful alien contained. Thunder wasn't sure if he would ever return, but understood the necessity of his sacrifice to save humanity. The portal connecting the Big Ron Inn to the present timeline remained open, allowing Mr. Blue, Madam Black, and Miriek to return to the past, while Lee-hin stood, still processing everything that transpired. Miriek felt uneasy and might have chosen to stay if given the chance. But the movie ends with Miriek in the present timeline feeling overjoyed at the prospect of seeing Lee-han again.
And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.